Hey everyone, welcome back. Icon here. Thanks so much for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. Today, we are hopping back on board with SCUMP. A lot of people have been asking for SCUMP recently. Now, in the last couple of weeks, we've really been focusing on ENVOY and Formal just because ENVOY seems to do so much inside the hill and Formal seems to do so much in terms of controlling flank routes and controlling spawns and stuff like that. But it's always nice when we can hop on board with King Scumpy himself, so that is where we are at today. Also, one thing that I'll point out real quick before we get into the actual analysis is that I saw that OCTANE was scrimming today. So in terms of that, I'm really excited to dive into a little bit of point of views from OCTANE, and because let's just face it, he's one of probably the top, he's definitely like top 3 or 4 AR in the league so far this year. He's probably top 10 players somewhere in there. So I am a little bit excited to go ahead and hop on board with OCTANE when we get the opportunity to do so. Imagine that'll be here on my channel here, at least in the next week or so. I really do want to get some POV from him. But with that, let's go ahead. Let's hop into the actual analysis today. One thing that I want to point out real quick, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to pause this. I just want to slow things down and just kind of go through exactly what we saw to begin there. So this opening strategy that you see a lot these days is, again, there's a mini map between Scump's face and my face. I'm drawing on that so you guys can get an idea of what exactly happened right there. These are the two spawns, right? Chicago spawned over on the right side of the map. Seattle spawned on the left side of the map. And essentially, what teams are trying to do now is they're trying to push through mid, go bottom dirt, and then if they can get back here and get this back construction area on lockdown, then essentially what that does is that causes Seattle to spawn out. Now, that's not exactly what happened right there, but that's the main strategy that teams are working for. Sure, they want to go ahead and they want to get as much time as they possibly can inside of P1. So as we go ahead and we press play again, next time we go through rotations, really pay attention and see where teams are at and where they're trying to control. Because right now you can see that Chicago does have control of this back platform, which is a little bit odd. It's not odd that they have control of the spawns there, but it's odd that they have control of the spawns and they're not getting the time inside the hill. This is a really nice job from Seattle because most of the time, this is one of the most dominant hard points on this map. It's really easy to lock this one down. So I'm super impressed here with what Seattle was able to do right there because you're not going to see that very often. If you've been following the league or if you watch any other scrims on this map, this is one where at least 40 seconds goes to the team that's holding down that back spawn. So really nice job from Seattle. Right now, they're up by about 70 points, and that's probably something that you wouldn't expect. So I'm interested to see how this game ends up turning out here in the future. Now, again, a little bit of relief is coming to Chicago just because of the simple fact this is kind of one of those classic Call of Duty maps in terms of hardpoint locations where if you don't have control of P2, you are going to have control of P3. Just like if you don't have control of P3, as this ping pongs back to the other side of the map, you are going to have control of P4. So that's just kind of how this map works in general. But you can see that, man, look at the kill feed. So there was 5 dead. Absolutely everybody was dead for Chicago, and Seattle still didn't get control of that hard point. That's not something that you would see in any Call of Duties from the past. So if you're inside of P3, like Chicago just ended up dying from, right? So if Seattle pushed all the way up, they took control of this current hard point, they were able to get 5 down, and they still didn't get the last 20 seconds of that hard point. That's just a mistake in game design, right? If you push all the way forward, you have earned the rest of the time in that hill. Now, it wouldn't have necessarily hurt them too much because, again, as it goes from P3 to P4 back to construction on the other side, as that rotates, they would have had control of this one, but they did get flanked out. So you can see that Chicago does have control of construction back here. They were pushed up over towards bridge. There is going to be somebody pushing dirt. SCUMP would probably get this kill, right? Oh, actually, wow. So I'm a little bit surprised that he died there. It did get traded out by ENVOY, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But most of the time, if you're tucked into that corner and people are going to be running through from dirt, that's usually the last place where they were looked. So I'm a little bit shocked that Seth went down there, but it is what it is. These guys are pros. They look out for those things all the time. Now, nice job of Chicago of regaining, right? They were down by like 80 points, so they were able to regain the lead, and now it's going back from P4 to P5 over by Ruins. This is going to be the last hard point before we go ahead and reset. And again, the team that's going to end up winning this scrim is the team that's able to push out one of these hard points that they don't own and get the majority of the time that's inside of there. So this is a nice job so far from Chicago, where they didn't have this P5 spawn, but they've been contesting, they've been gaining points. They still haven't pushed out the spawn, right? You can see that they're still being spawned, and right there. So right there was a green arrow that came in from behind them. So again, those are the little things on this map that you have to do and able to really win a map like this. You have to take one of these hard points that you don't have control of and really push it out and be able to win that hard point, because you just don't see it very often. Now, as this goes back from P5 to P1 on the opposite side of the map, this is kind of like a turning point for Seattle, right? If you give up the majority of time in P1 and you get pushed out over by P2, then you're probably going to end up losing this scrim. So this is one of those really important moments. Are you able to hold down construction, and are you able to hold down the rotations as it goes from P1 to P2? And it looks like they might have just failed at that. So if I'm looking at the minimap in SCUMP screen in the top left-hand corner, they have control, but they also have construction, but they are being pushed out. I don't know. This is up in the air right now, right? It looks like both teams have control in construction, and Seattle just went and cleared out everybody that was in construction. Wow. So again, that's one of those turning points in the match where if they don't get that team wipe right there, then Chicago is going to have the rest of the time inside of P1, and as it rotates back, they'll probably be set up at that point in time, so they'll be able to get the rest of the time inside P2. That was a really nice job from Seattle of breaking through, regaining for P2, and now they're going to be back into this. At the end of P2 on the second set of rotations, I would think that this score is probably going to be somewhat tied as we rotate from P2 to P3. But with that, the great thing about scrims is that we can go ahead and we can listen into the communication, their strategy, what exactly they're talking about. So with that, I'm going to turn up the audio on their scrims. Let's listen in, and let's really hear what they're talking about moving forward.
I tried smoking.
Jumping in.
I got one.
Got me.
Heady in back door.
Nice job by Pander and Slacks being able to keep control. And again, those 19 seconds, if they lose that, they're going to be down by 20, and they're not going to have spawns as it rotates back to the other side. Now they're going to be up by about 20, so it makes losing this rotation a little bit less important.
Jerry, dead sandbags.
Just make sure you hold left here.
Got him in. I'm trying to push up this guy Rogues.
Yeah, bottom mid.
They're gonna keep spawning. Yeah, they're gonna spawn bottom mid over and over.
Oh wow,
Spawning bottom dirt.
this is perfectly played.
Over.
Yeah, this doesn't get any better. Let me explain what's happening right here. So this is one of those moments where, all right, you've got the other team in checkmate. So I'm going to draw on the minimap again. That's right above my head. Chicago right now has control of P3, right? They are directly right here. And essentially what's going on is Seth is just controlling the mid part of the map. As he's doing that, Formal is pushed up top rugs. So Formal's controlling this part. And if you look at the minimap, there was just somebody that went down, but they had somebody also up here around top platform controlling this part of the map. So the person that's over by ammo has this area locked down, right? Seattle can't spawn there. Chicago's spawning in the back, and they have control of the hard point, so they can't spawn back there. And Formal's pushed up on the right-hand side of the map, so they can't spawn over here. So the only thing that leaves Seattle with is this area. And that is how you perform a checkmate in Call of Duty. Normally, when this gets contested, right, when hills get contested, one team spawning on the right side, one team spawning on the left side. Let me go ahead and draw that real quick. So a lot of times you'll have something like, we're in P3, Chicago has this spawn, they're pushed up over here, and they're battling like in and around the hard point. Well, a lot of times teams would be spawning over here by ruins, so it ends up being like a left side of the hard point versus a right side of the hard point. when you can control both the left and the right side and spawn your enemies out, that's when you can really take over a game, and that's what you're seeing right here. Seth got a 3-piece, Formal just got 2.
I'm just holding the
And the
crosshair.
last, I would be shocked if the last 40 seconds of this don't go to Chicago. This is just really well done.
Another one dead.
Another one, bottom middle, stand, going top rogue.
I'll pick
Top
up
rogue
time.
dead.
I got time.
Okay, here you.
I got another one new.
That's 5 dead, that's 5 dead. Should be one in ammo spawn.
Bottom mid, Pander, one shot. Bottom mid, one shot.
Bottom mid dead.
Ammo spawn.
He's top rogue.
Top rogues.
Now, if you're Seattle, you probably want to stop pushing this. Let me go ahead. Let's stop this again. This is the thing that's bothering me a little bit by what Seattle's doing. Look at this arrow right here. I just drew over top of it, but there's a green arrow right there. And what that tells me is if SCUMP is sitting right here, so again, I'm drawing on the minimap above my head. If SCUMP is sitting right in this area and there's an arrow right there on his minimap, that arrow looks like it's in this area back by P4. So I don't like the fact that I'm seeing all of this pressure in this area by Seattle, because I think that they might be pushing a little bit too late and they might give up that spawn for P4. Let's see what happens. Let's see where SCUMP comes up.
Spawn right, I spawned right. I'm gonna pin.
It's exactly what happened. Look at the arrows on the minimap. SCUMP is mid-map. You can see the green arrows behind him already in construction. And now as it's rotating from P3 to P4, this is, if Seattle loses this match, this is where it happens.
Top mid, top rogues.
They spawned ammo, mid flat, mid flat.
Playing my life
You
here.
wanna go third, Alec?
I'm third already.
One dirt, by the way.
I am.
I should have your dirt.
Yeah, that's just a mistake.
What are you doing?
They were down
We
by
cover up Sam,
20
we cover
as it
up
was
Sam.
about to rotate from P3 to P4. If they just hold down spawns and they concentrate on this side of the map, then they're going to have control of this hard point and these spawns.
Yeah, my bad. Hey, sandbags.
Down on
I'm
time.
playing now. I'm playing now.
And essentially, instead of being 200 to 180, it could have been 220 to 180. So, or even closer than that. And now they just did it again. The same thing is now. This is a little bit of a different scenario, right? Because they had to push. Score in the bottom left-hand corner has it at 244, and there's 9 seconds left in the current hard point. So they didn't have a choice. They had to push. If they didn't push, then they end up losing on that P4 hard point. But essentially what happened is they didn't have anybody back guarding. Normally in this scenario, you'd want to send like 4, keep 1 back, maybe OCTANE keep in the back of the map. Because now SCUMP is pushed up back behind these P3 spawns, and as this is about to rotate from construction over to ruins from P4 to P5,
Back dead.
you would have to think that these last 4 seconds or so, they have spawns, they have control of hardpoint, they're pushed up to that godheady, and that's going to be all she wrote. So really nice job from Chicago, especially on that P3 hardpoint of not just sitting in the hardpoint and not just sitting back in the spawn, but being able to push up the left side of the map, push up the right side of the map, and have SCUMP controlling mid-map. When you have all of that in accordance, now all of a sudden the enemy's really spawning out. And if we look at these real quick, SCUMP and ENVOY, they both dropped 30 bombs. RC's with the 15 and 21. That might be a little bit low for him. One thing that really sticks out for me is Formal right here with 25 and OCTANE with 18. Again, if you're talking about controlling flank routes, controlling spawns, being the anchor for your team in hardpoint, a lot can happen and a lot can be won just in that right there. So really nice job from Chicago. That was really exciting to see. And early on in the match, a nice job from Seattle of not just laying down when things started to go against them. So if you like this sort of content and you're new around here, please hit that subscribe button down below. I put out videos every single day, so you'll get a new analysis every single day. If you have any comments whatsoever, put them down below. I try to get back to each and every single one of my comments, so I really appreciate the interactions. Leave a like before you head on your way. And with that, guys, we will catch you in tomorrow's episode.